I wanted to get your reaction to the tweet from Alan Walsh last night.
Tweet?
It said that the players are fun is being sucked out of the players here in Calgary.
So, and what would his relationship be to you or to the players?
He's the agent for Jonathan Huberdeau.
So it's not really players, is it?
So I'm assuming you're saying that it's irrelevant what an agent would tweet?
That would be the assumption.
This is pro sports, they're big boys, but what sort of importance do you put on players coming to the rink and enjoying coming to the rink? Is that important to you?
Yeah, I think it's really important because of the difference in age group of your team, right? You got older guys with families and young single guys, and I think the older guys probably, it's a real business to them. They come and are real business-like, but I think the young guys come and have fun. Like even today, you see it, right? They enjoy being on the ice and doing what they do. So, you're going to lose a game once in a while. It's not, quite honest, when you ask that question, Eric, social media and what anybody says doesn't affect locker room ever, right? When you got a tight group, you keep it tight.
This feels like a tight group for the sport.
Well, it is. We've worked really hard at it, and we continue to.
And take us through the evolution of that. When you came here, did you feel like it was a tight group or it's gotten tighter?
I think it was fairly well talked about that it wasn't. There was groups in the group.
Do you get the sense that frustration is seeping in at all with the last?
Yeah, I think there's frustration when you, quite honest, you can't ever base it on one game the way you do it, because otherwise it's just an up and all over the map every day. But I think it's, when the guys go for a week or like a road trip or that sort of thing and play really, really well, they believe they should win every game, right? So then it's exactly what happened last night. When you come home, you don't quite have the energy. There's some of you guys went on the road trip and didn't finish the trip. You were probably tired for a couple of days. You didn't have to play the game, right? So that's the way it works. They're people. Like today's a new day again for them. Like it's a fresh start, and that's the way you got to look at it. It's a long season for them, and they feel they should have. We feel we should have 2 or 3 more wins. Like quite honest, there's 10 or 11 OTs. Well, if you get 5 or 6 more, there's not one critic out there in the world, not one here. So that's like saying 5 more goals for, or 5 goals less, you got 5 more points. And if you had, that's the best way to look at it. If you look at it the other way, you're way off track.
Are you sensing that Jonathan Huberdeau's having fun playing hockey this year?
I think he'd certainly like to be putting more numbers up, but even like last night, he told me the bench he was playing good. So that's good. That's good for me too, right? That's what it's about.
How do you try and reach a guy that's probably putting a lot of pressure on himself in a new market? How do you try to reach him and sort of coax the next level out of him?
Yeah, I just think that there is a period of adjustment, and then away you go. We're 50-some games in, right? So, when does that adjustment kick in? That's not, I'm not a genius on that, right? He's a good player. That's what I care about more than anything.
Last night you talked about the lack of emotion and that was starts with the leadership. Are you, like, on a broader scale, are you satisfied with the leadership you have in your room?
Yeah, I think there's, it's not like a vocal group, but I think by example, those guys are, they try and bring it every night, and that's what your team needs.
Would you want them to be more of a vocal group?
That's natural. That's like if it's you or your wife or your children, some are vocal, some are. That's not something that's personalities, right?
Before the season started, you said the goal was to get to the playoffs.
Should be.
Do you
It's,
believe
again, that's something, and Eric, that the question you guys talk about the culture, the team and all that, well, that's what you had to create here, because the expectations were way out of whack, and I still sit on that every day, right? The task of making the playoffs is a lot tougher than actually when you get there, right? Because the league is so much closer. And it's exactly what I said coming into the season. I said there's 5 teams in our division. Well, there's 5 teams in our division.
Do you believe if the team gets to the playoffs, they can be dangerous once they get there?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think that, and there's things that go into that, obviously, in terms of injuries and might be officiating or things like that, but for sure.
When we spoke to Chris Tanev after the game, he said, "Put this on me. I'm one of the leaders of this group. The leadership was a problem."
Well, it just speaks to the question about leadership. That speaks to the character of a guy like Chris Tanev, right? I mean, cares deeply about the game and his team.
What's the rationale for you? And I know it's just a practice day, but
Yeah.
we saw some different pairings today. What went into that shuffle?
Nothing really that we'd like to know. And Tanny, they've played together before, like not so much last year, but they've played together. We went, McKenzie hasn't had any time with Rass at all. We just want to look at that. I think Dennis Gilbert has to. He has to be able to practice on both sides. So today he's playing the right side. So just getting a different look at it.
Since mid-December, your team hasn't won more than 2 in a row or lost more than 2 in a row. Can you describe what it's been like kind of coaching through that?
Well, our record, I'm not sure, December, January, or if you add it all up, it's pretty good. If you had that record through the whole year, if you'd had that whatever that production or performance in November, you'd be comfortably in a spot now.
Daryl, do you notice a difference when McKenzie's on his strong side as opposed to the left side?
Yeah, I just feel bad having to do it, quite honestly. I notice a difference, yeah, I do. But I just, from being a player, I just don't like having to do it with him. And it doesn't matter to him. He's the type of competitor, he just wants to play, right? So, but I feel bad having to move him back and forth. I wish it was more one or the other consistently, but just the way it's worked. I mean, our defense right from the day before training camp has not been in place. When you look at it, Shillington threw it into us, and then Tanny going through the whole camp, not sure, so we just had to keep moving McKenzie, and then Tanny's been out 3 times and Rass the last week. Like it's been a shuffle, and thankful we've been able to use him.
Daryl, Raz get better last night as the night went
Yeah,
on.
even talked to him today about it, like he was, there's a little bit of getting back to it in terms of, there was some trauma there. He's pretty banged up, so just getting back into it. And even yesterday, I wasn't sure. Like when you guys asked that question, I wasn't sure. Geez, I don't know if I should give him another couple days or practice, or you're just not sure. Or dress 7 guys, like you're not sure how he's going to get through it. But I thought as the game went along, I thought he got, by the end, he was really good.